I heard you, Maxwell. I heard everything. You thought hurting me would keep you in control.
Maxwell noticed Sonia the very first day Sonia stepped into the university campus. She was quiet, calm, and carried a kind of strength that made her impossible to ignore. While everyone else tried to fit in, Sonia stood out without even trying. But instead of protecting her, Maxwell made her life miserable. He mocked her, embarrassed her, bullied her in ways no one could understand. For months, everyone thought he simply hated her. Until one unforgettable day, Sonia discovered the real reason behind his cruelty. And what she found left her completely speechless. Because the truth was something she never expected. Before I tell you what happened, let me take you back to where it all began. Sonia Blake stood at the front gate of Westbridge University with one small suitcase in her hand and fear sitting quietly in her chest. The campus was bigger than she imagined. Tall buildings touched the blue sky. Students walked past her in groups, laughing loudly, carrying books, coffee, and confidence. Everyone seemed to already belong there. Everyone except her. Sonia adjusted the strap of her bag and looked down at her shoes. She was 25, quiet, careful, and never the kind of girl people noticed first. She liked books more than parties. She liked silence more than noise. She liked peace. She came to Westbridge for one reason: to change her life. Her mother had worked 2 jobs just to help her get there. Her younger brother looked at her like she was already successful. Failure was not something she could afford. The following day, she passed through the basketball court to go to her next lecture. That was the second time Maxwell Reed saw her. He stood near the basketball court. Tall, confident, and impossible to ignore, Maxwell was the kind of student everyone knew. Captain of the basketball team. Top student. Popular. Dangerous in the quiet way. Girls liked him. Teachers respected him. Students feared him. He looked when Sonia passed, and for one strange second, everything around him became quiet. She was not loud. She was not trying to impress anyone. She just walked with her books and bag. Maxwell stared. His best friend, Jake, noticed and rushed to him. Who is she? Maxwell quickly looked away. No one. Then Jake looked at him and smirked. The new girl, he asked. Maxwell pretended like he didn't hear him. She looks serious. Jake laughed. She looks like she would report you to the police for breathing too close. The boys laughed. But Maxwell did not. That evening, while everyone else forgot her, Maxwell still remembered the way she looked. Quiet, strong, untouchable. And that scared him more than he understood. The next morning, Sonia entered her literature class early. She liked arriving before everyone else. It gave her time to breathe. She sat down on one of the seats, opened her notebook, and prepared for class. The door opened. Laughter entered before the people did. Maxwell and his friends walked in. The room changed immediately. Everyone noticed. Girls sat straighter. Boys greeted them. Even the air felt different. Sonia kept writing. She did not care for campus kings. But Maxwell noticed her instantly. Again. Still quiet. Still unreadable. He hated how much that bothered him. Jake dropped into the seat behind Sonia and whispered loudly, "There's your serious girl." Maxwell sat beside him. Without thinking, he leaned forward and tapped Sonia's with his pen. "You're sitting in my lucky spot," he said. "There are many empty seats." She responded. Jake laughed. "Oh, she talks." Maxwell smirked, though his heart was beating too fast. "Still, I want that one." Sonia looked around the classroom, then slightly turned back at him. "No." Jake nearly choked laughing. Maxwell froze. People did not usually tell him no, including ladies. Especially not like that. Calm, simple, final. Something hot rose in him. Embarrassment. Something worse. So he smiled a cruel smile. "Careful. People who annoy me usually regret it." The room became silent. Sonia turned back to her notebook. "I came here to study, not to be impressed." Jake whispered, "She's dead." But Maxwell sat there, staring at the back of her head, feeling something he could not explain. Not anger. Not exactly. Something deeper. Something dangerous. And because he did not know how to handle it, he decided he would make her life difficult. Very difficult. It started small. A missing pin, her notes disappearing and returning in strange places. Nothing serious. Just enough to make her tired. Enough to remind her that someone was watching. And every time it was Maxwell. Never enough for proof. Always enough for pain. Sonia tried to ignore it. She told herself people like him got bored quickly. She was wrong. One afternoon, she walked into the cafeteria carrying her tray and saw the only empty seat was near the back. Unfortunately, Maxwell was sitting there with Jake and the rest of his friends. She almost turned around. But hunger won. She walked over quietly and sat at the far end. Jake noticed first. Well, look who joined the rich people's table. Sonia kept eating. Maxwell watched her. You should say thank you. She looked up. For what? For allowing you to sit here. She placed her food down carefully. I don't remember asking permission. Jake laughed loudly. Maxwell leaned forward. You always talk like you're brave. Sonia met his eyes. No, I talk like I'm tired. That answer hit him harder than he expected. He reached across the table, took one of the juice from her tray, and sipped it. Now what? The table laughed. Sonia stared at him. Not angry. Not crying. Just disappointed. And somehow that felt worse. She stood up, picked up her tray, and said softly, one day you'll understand that hurting people doesn't make you powerful. It just makes you lonely. Then she walked away. The laughter died. Jake shook his head. Bro, she talks like a movie character. But Maxwell said nothing. Because someone had looked directly at him in ages. And seen the lonely part he worked so hard to hide. That night, Maxwell could not sleep. Sonia's words stayed in his head like a song he hated but could not stop hearing. It just makes you lonely. He lay on his bed staring at the ceiling of his apartment near campus. His roommate, Chris, played video games across the room. You look like someone rejected your marriage proposal, Chris said. Maxwell threw a pillow at him. Shut up. Chris laughed. Is it a girl? No. Then it's definitely a girl. Maxwell sat up. There's this girl in my class. Chris raised one eyebrow. The quiet one? Maxwell frowned. How do you know? Because every guy who suddenly becomes dramatic is always talking about the quiet one. Maxwell rubbed his face. It's not like that. Chris paused his game. Then what is it like? Maxwell looked away. He did not know how to explain it. How Sonia made him feel exposed. How her silence was louder than most people shouting. How he noticed every little thing. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when nervous. The way she sat alone but never looked lonely. The way she never tried to impress anyone. It made him angry. Because he cared. And caring felt like weakness. So instead, he turned it into control. Cruel jokes. Sharp words. Distance disguised as power. Chris watched him quietly. Then said, You like her. Maxwell scoffed. I bully her. Chris nodded. Exactly. That's stupid. Maxwell glared. Helpful. Chris stood and grabbed water from the fridge. You're scared. That's all. Some people run when they like someone. You decided to become a villain. Chris laughed. Maxwell hated how true that sounded. He lay back down. She'd never like me anyway. Chris shrugged. She definitely won't if you keep acting like the final boss in her trauma story. Maxwell stared at the ceiling again. Because deep down, he already knew. He was ruining the very thing he wanted. And somehow, he still did not know how to stop. The next week, Sonia decided one thing. She would stop letting Maxwell control her peace. She had not come to Westbridge University to fight rich boys with expensive shoes and emotional problems. She came to build a future. So she focused. Class, library, assignments, home, no drama. If Maxwell spoke, she answered only when necessary. If he mocked her, she stayed calm. If people watched, she ignored them. That should have made things easier. Instead, it made Maxwell worse. Because now she was slipping away from his attention. And he hated that. One Monday morning, Professor Hall announced a major research project. Everyone had to work in pairs. The room filled with whispers immediately. Students turned to their friends. Names were called. Seats moved. Then Professor Hall looked at his list. Sonia Blake and Maxwell Reed. The classroom exploded. Sonia closed her eyes slowly. She wished she was dreaming. Maxwell sat frozen. Professor Hall adjusted his glasses. Problem. Both of them answered at the same time. Yes. The class laughed. Professor Hall smiled like a man who enjoyed suffering. Wonderful. I believe discomfort builds character. You'll work together. Sonia looked at the ceiling like she was asking heaven for patience. Maxwell looked at his desk like it had betrayed him. After class, she packed her books quickly, hoping to escape. Too late. Hey. His voice. She kept walking. He followed. We need to discuss the project. We can discuss it by email. No. She stopped and turned. Students passed around them, pretending not to stare. No. Maxwell crossed his arms. No. We're doing this properly. She narrowed her eyes. Why do you care so much now? You spend half your life trying to make mine harder. He opened his mouth, closed it. Because the real answer was impossible. Because I like you. Because I notice everything. Because being near you makes me feel like I'm standing too close to fire. Instead, he said the worst possible thing. Because unlike you, I actually care about my grades. Her face changed. Not hurt, just colder. Fine, she said. Library. 5 o'clock. Be serious for once. Then she walked away. Maxwell stood there, angry at himself. Again. Always again. At 5 o'clock, Sonia sat at a quiet table in the library with her laptop open and 3 books beside her. She expected Maxwell to be late. He was not. He arrived exactly at 5, holding coffee and looking strangely nervous. He placed 1 cup in front of her. I didn't know what you liked, so plain coffee. She stared at it. Then at him. Are you dying? He almost smiled. Very funny. She pushed the cup slightly, but did not drink. They started working. At first, it was stiff. Cold. Only necessary words. Topic. Research. Deadlines. Sources. But slowly something changed. Maxwell was smart. Annoyingly smart. He explained difficult ideas clearly. He listened when she corrected him. He even apologized once when he interrupted her. Sonia nearly checked if he had been replaced by an actor. For 2 hours, there was peace. No teasing. No cruelty. Just 2 students working. And in that quiet version of him, she saw something confusing. He was not the monster everyone described. Not completely. Sometimes she caught him staring. Not in a cruel way. Just watching. Like he wanted to say something and kept swallowing it. It made her uncomfortable. Because part of her wanted to know what it meant. When they packed up, she said quietly, "You're different here." He looked at her. "What do you mean?" She packed her books. "Here, you act like a person. He deserved that." He nodded once. "I know." She hesitated. Then asked the question she had been carrying for weeks. "Why me?" He frowned. "Why what? Why do you keep picking on me?" Silence. The library suddenly felt too quiet. His fingers tightened around his notebook. Because there it was. The truth standing at the door. And he was too afraid to open it. So he looked away and said, "Maybe I just don't like you." The moment the words left his mouth, he regretted them. Sonia's expression changed. That small wall she had lowered rose again. Higher this time. She nodded slowly. "Thank you. I just wanted honesty." Then she walked away. And Maxwell sat there alone, realizing honesty was exactly what he had failed to give. 2 days later, Sonia was in the student center printing her assignment when she heard voices around the corner. She was not trying to listen. But then she heard her own name. She stopped. Jake's voice. "Bro, just tell her." Maxwell answered, frustrated. "Tell her what? That you've been obsessed with her since first year." Sonia froze, her hand still holding the paper. Jake continued. "You act like a villain because you're scared she'll reject you. Congratulations, genius. Now she definitely hates you." Silence. Then Maxwell spoke, quieter this time. I know. Jake sighed. You took her notebook, embarrassed her in class, stole her lunch, made her life hell. That's not flirting. That's criminal behavior. Maxwell let out a dry laugh. I know. Then why? A pause. Long enough for Sonia's heart to beat louder. Then Maxwell said the words that made everything stop. Because the first day I saw her, I liked her. And I hated that. She made me feel things I didn't know how to handle. I thought if I pushed her away first, I'd stay in control. Jake said nothing. Neither did Sonia. She stood there, unable to move. Maxwell continued. But every time I hurt her, I hated myself after. And somehow I still kept doing it. I kept thinking maybe if she hated me, I'd stop caring. Jake's voice was softer now. And did it work? Maxwell answered like a man confessing to a crime. No. It just made me lose her before I ever had a chance. Sonia felt something heavy in her chest. Shock, anger, sadness. Because suddenly everything made sense. The staring, the strange silence, the way he got worse when she pulled away. It was not hatred. It was fear. And somehow that made it hurt even more. Because love was not supposed to look like pain. She stepped back quietly before they saw her. Her hands were shaking. Maxwell Reed had liked her all along, and he chose cruelty instead. She walked outside into the evening air, staring at the sky. Her eyes burned, because some truths did not heal. Some truths only explained the wound, and explanation was not the same as forgiveness. Sonia stood in the fading light of the campus courtyard, the weight of Maxwell's confession settling over her like a heavy mist. For months, she had wondered what she had done to deserve his shadow, only to realize the shadow was his own. The next day, Maxwell approached her in the library, his usual armor of arrogance replaced by a visible, trembling uncertainty. He opened his mouth to speak, perhaps to offer another excuse or a hollow joke, but Sonia held up a hand. I heard you, Maxwell, she said softly, her voice steady. I heard everything. The color drained from his face. The silence that followed was the loudest thing either of them had ever experienced. You thought hurting me would keep you in control, she continued, but all you did was build a wall so high that even the truth can't climb over it. You don't get to call it love when it feels like a bruise. Maxwell reached out, his hands stopping midair, realizing that some bridges don't just burn, they vanish. He had spent so long playing the villain to protect his heart that he had successfully protected it from the only person he wanted to share it with. He watched her walk away, realizing the most painful lesson of all. You cannot claim to love someone while being the reason they need to be brave. Maxwell learned the hard way that once you break someone's peace, you lose the right to be a part of it. Moral of the story, true love is built on respect and protection, not cruelty and control. You cannot bully the person you claim to love and expect them to stay. Some wounds go too deep for I'm sorry to reach. If you found this story captivating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.